So you finally have built a perfect routine that works for you. And then life happens. A trip, a flu, a new job. And so does it all fall apart now? Not necessarily if you know how to adjust it. Hi, I'm Tamara, certified master health coach, personal trainer, and fitness nutritionist. I help people to find energy and resources to live the life the way they want, so their body and mind are up to speed with their dreams, goals, and ambitions. And in today's video, I'm sharing the tips on how not to lose the habits that you spend so much effort and time building. When life changes and circumstances call for either some adjustment or a complete makeover. Let's get into it. Habits and routines are very beneficial in our daily living because they help us to avoid thousands of very mundane decisions that we have to make every single day. But at the same time, we don't live in a habit vacuum, as BJ Fogg called it. Our circumstances change, we change, our preferences change, and so should our routines. In some cases, we need permanent adjustments, while in others, we need just a short-term tweak to get through a specific situation and return to our normal. For example, you're going on vacation. What do you do with your routines? Are you trying to fully replicate them, or you just put them on pause? The answer is, it depends. And to figure it out for yourself, you will need to use your intuition and common sense. And I will share some tips that I personally find helpful while adopting routines for different kind of circumstances. But first of all, I guess all of us need to accept that life is going to change. And no matter how perfect of a routine we have designed, it's not going to stay this way forever. So we will have to adapt, start from scratch, make adjustments, and that's okay. We spend a lot of energy on just resisting the change because it's our human nature to prefer the comfort of the known. But unfortunately, it's not how our world is functioning. So let's just buckle up and embrace the constant shifting. Now, let's remember that our habits and behaviors reflect on our identity, who we are, or who we want to be. And when we think of our habits as a part of who we are, it makes it easier to separate the nice to haves from absolutely non-negotiables. For example, if I am nurturing an identity of someone who is exercising regularly, my specific gym routine is a nice to have. But doing some kind of activity throughout the week is a non-negotiable in order to maintain this identity. Flexibility is key when thinking about designing habits or routines, because the more rigid your routines are, the more brittle your whole system becomes. So all or nothing thinking is bad again. Let's look at it from a perspective of duration and think of the ways of applying flexibility if the disruptive event is short-term, long-term, or permanent. Short-term disruptions can be vacation, seasonal cold, guests staying with you, something like that. And for this kind of situations, I see 3 ways of dealing with routines. First approach is just pausing your routines and getting straight back to them when the disruption is over. A strong set of habits isn't going to suffer from a week of vacation. And sometimes it just makes the most sense because the experience itself worth a lot more and you can afford a little sacrifice. And sometimes taking a break is just, the right thing to do, because if you catch a flu, there is a total of 0 sense of pushing your body anywhere besides towards the fastest recovery. Sometimes the most sensible option is making adjustments. Especially it's true for routines that are not yet solidified and can crumble if not supported. Then a workout during vacation can look like morning walks or playing beach volleyball, something to just reinforce your identity of a regular exerciser. If at home you cook meals from scratch every day, on vacation it can turn into being more mindful with your choices at the restaurant. So again, reminding your brain of why it is important for you and what this identity is that you are growing. And finally, for the habits that are either super unstable or really crucial for your desired identity, you may want to keep them as intact as reasonably possible. Booking a hotel with the gym and kitchenette, bringing portable equipment with you, making your schedule around your workouts. We had to do it this way once when my husband and I were training for a marathon. We had a trip planned and we really wanted to go on this trip, but skipping 5 training runs that were scheduled for the duration of the trip wasn't an option because for marathon training, you will pay a dear price if you don't exercise. So we had to schedule everything, all our events on vacation around our training schedule. It was rough on one hand, but on the other hand, in the end, it turned to be totally worth it because up to this day, the best and the most memorable run that I ever had in my life was the 18-miler on that trip. When disruptions to our habits are longer in duration, both pausing or rigidly following them may not be reasonable, so we will have to make adjustments. Longer trips, relocation, injuries or illness that take longer to heal, home renovations, all these kinds of circumstances call for flexibility. And again, to find the solution, we need to come back to this part of identity that we are trying to cultivate through these habits and routines. How do I maintain an identity of someone who eats healthy when I have a 3-month-long process of cross-country relocation in front of me and I know that I won't have access to a kitchen? Or how do I maintain an identity of regular exerciser during a month-long trip abroad? We will be traveling for 6 weeks, and it's pretty a long time, more than enough for some of the habits to get a little rusty or completely lost. So the goal is to keep doing something that fuels these identities so I can get back to normal. Like a fire, habits need fuel. And if the preferable firewood is not accessible, coal will do. And if you'd like to know what my non-negotiables are and what I am deciding to take with me and what I'm leaving behind, let me know in the comments. I will be happy to share in more details. And now, permanent transitions. They call for permanent solutions. When we decided to immigrate, we knew that we will have to build our life with what becomes available in a new country. When my husband was diagnosed with diabetes, there was no way back to the lifestyle that we lived before. And when my daughter was born, the whole life had to get redesigned. There are plenty of situations when the old ways, regardless of how well designed they used to be, just stop working and need to be rebuilt from scratch. And again, we turn to this core identity we desire to cultivate for answers. I am someone who wants to assimilate and belong in a new culture. I am someone who lives a full life in a strong and capable body despite of a chronic condition. I am someone who maintains the sense of self and purpose even while being a new parent. So figure out what identity you want to grow, cultivate, and nurture, and then decide on behaviors that suits it. I hope that now you have some ideas of how to preserve your habits through life's turbulence. And by the way, change is not always bad. Next week, I'll share how to take advantage of the change of scenery and rewrite some of the habits that you're not super happy about. See you then. Bye.